This is Political Junkeez with Brian Howie and London Thomas.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to Political Junkeez, the podcast for those hooked on politics. We got a lot of good feedback on these shows so far. Joining me, as always and as preferred, he's a global traveler, music icon, reformed liberal, evolved conservative, fighting hard out of Atlanta. And even when he's wrong, he's still mostly right. London Thomas, how are you?
What's up, Brad guy? Way to do it.
So recently I got asked a question on another lesser podcast that I guested on. And they said, tell me something about you that would surprise people to hear. And I said that not only have I never owned a gun, not only have I never shot a gun, but other than holstered to a cop or in the Smithsonian, I have never even seen a gun.
Right.
And I brought that up then, and I brought that up now, because as many of you know, who know me or who have listened to the show, I've spent most of the last 6 years traveling with a show I do called The Great Love Debate. And I've been over 100 cities, and I have been everywhere. And no matter where I go, red state, purple state, blue state, people fucking love guns.
Yes, they do.
The number one thing that women want to do on a date is shoot guns. Shoot guns. It's amazing. Even, I did a live show in Las Vegas, where we are now, about 3 weeks after the big shooting there. The women wanted to go shoot guns.
Yeah.
So on that note, for our big hit today, I wanted to bring in a specialist. Look at that. I don't even know what that is. I want to bring in a specialist. He could break this down, shoot this out. He's a former bounty hunter, private investigator. He is a gunfight coach and self-defense trainer. He's the founder of Vegas CCW, which I assume means carry concealed weapon. So I assume he's packing heat today.
Not anymore. You are now. So.
He's on my left. He's not necessarily to the left. Nephi Khaliki, how are you?
I'm doing amazing.
Is that unusual that somebody who's over 40 years old just has no
It
guns?
reminds me of that movie with Steve Carell, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah.
Just
Are you
like
going to take my gun virginity?
it just never
today?
happened.
Is that a gun? Is that a firearm? Is that
Yes.
what that is?
That's
is that
an
what
H&K
is that
USP compact.
What is that?
I've made it safe, but you could check it.
What? Oh my God! I'm holding
But don't
a gun.
point it at-
Oh, it's heavier than I thought.
What is it?
That's an H&K.
An
It's
H&K is what?
H&K, what is it?
Heckler. It's
Made
a
in
9
Germany.
millimeter.
A 9mm, okay.
Well, let me ask you
Yeah,
this.
think that.
Why
That's the
have,
street language, 9mm.
Let me ask you this.
Nine
Why
mil.
have, I don't even know, seemingly, actually, why have guns exploded in this country over the
No
last...
pun intended, right?
No pun intended. Over the last 20 years.
Well, there's...
They've always been legal.
They've always been a part of our Constitution. I don't know if legal is the right term, because a right isn't something that you have to legalize or make illegal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a right. And it's a very important right, because guess what? If somebody takes all of the rights that you have within the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, what do you have to enforce it if they just decide, well, you know what, we're not going to let you do First Amendment anymore. So, and we go, well, we don't like that. And they're like, tough titty.
Well, but we had strife in this country in the 60s and in the 70s, and there weren't really restrictive gun laws back then, but not everybody owned a gun and not everybody owned multiple guns.
Right.
I mean, when something happened, I don't know when, 90s, where people are like, I need to get guns, I need lots of guns, and more importantly, I really like guns. I don't know what happened to change that.
I don't either. I'm from Detroit. I'm from a city where we had literally metal detectors in high schools in the 80s.
Well, you ain't that
in
old.
In the 80s, they had metal detectors. So
Right.
what
It
I'm
used to
saying
be
is,
really
I don't
unusual gun.
understand-
Now girls have them in their car,
Girls
and they
love
trick them out like
girls
they're
love
fu-
guns.
like they're
Girls
phone
love
plates.
guns. Girls love guns.
I got in trouble for
Yeah.
this. Well, I was on Fox Sports for a couple of years, and a woman came on the show, and she said the same question. She said, why is it that women are taking such an intense interest in firearms?
They don't trust the men to protect them anymore?
I said it's the same reason they're licking each other, right? They can't count on men to protect them, provide for them, and the more men do that, the more they're going to be forced to rely on themselves.
I think that's it. There is a rise in the masculine energy of a lot of women. They are more independent. They want to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They like feeling like a badass. They want to throw axes because they have a castration fantasy, and they want to shoot guns, and that really is
my sister
a shift.
is one of those women.
Yeah, my cousin
she
Laura,
wants a gun bad.
She's got 100 guns. You know.
I'm not one of those people, by the way.
Who has 100 guns?
No.
How many guns do you have? I've heard you say before you believe
Do you
more
collect the older guns?
No.
Like I have
you
friends
believe in
that do.
ammunition more than guns?
Absolutely. There's a thing about gun guys, right? I will mess you up with the one I have.
Right.
But I'm not going to train with 20 different guns. If I'm not going to carry it and I'm not going to train with it, there's a chance that I don't care. Because for me, guns are not about the gun itself.
Right.
It's about, what does this protect? You know, my other part of my life, the things that make me happy and bring me joy. That doesn't bring me joy. That protects my joy.
And who does it protect you from? Who's taking your joy?
Nobody.
Well, I know, because they know you have a gun.
No,
Or because, like,
it
what?
has nothing to do with the gun. The gun is the same reason I don't want to get in a fight with somebody. Mm-hmm. And I may have I've got a massive vocabulary. But if I'm going against a person, not pointing at you, but or you, maybe John, but if I'm going against someone who doesn't have that,
Right.
well, then I'm only as good as the lowest common denominator. So if he runs out of horsepower in his brain, what's the first thing he's going to shift to?
His hands.
Physicality.
Yeah.
Right? So I got to go physical when that idiot runs out of horsepower.
So if somebody says to you, "Why do I need a gun?" That's a long answer. Like somebody says, "What is the biggest reason? Protect themselves, protect their families, sport,
Man, who cares about sport? I don't.
hunting."
I don't. If I need to eat, I'm probably going to go as far as my neighbor's house hunting.
Or you can go to the grocery store, I guess.
We're assuming different scenarios here. You're assuming that everything will stay the status quo and nothing will ever change.
You're thinking
well,
that
you're
just
thinking
in case
in the future
something might fall
what
apart.
do you mean the future? What the hell is going on in the world right now?
He's got a point, Brian.
I
He's
get
got
that,
a point.
but I think that
This is why
He's got a
we
point.
prepare, because of what is going on right now.
Okay, so who is the gun to protect you from right now?
Someone who would take your money, take your life, hurt your family,
We
hurt
had
your
those
wife.
things in the 70s. We had those things in the 80s,
And
the
a
60s.
gun was
or-
still around in the 70s.
not nearly as prevalent as it is now. It is not like most, and again, everybody's like, it's a Republican thing. It's right. Everybody's got guns, and everybody really likes their guns.
No, Republicans like them a lot
They
more.
like them a lot more, but
A
the
lot
NRA
more.
funds, a lot of Democrats too, and they're
You
happy to take their
realize
money.
that
But
right-wing people aren't that NRA like,
I get that, but what changed? That's sort of my question here. That it was
Maybe-
dangerous in inner cities and in a lot of other places
Yeah.
a lot of times, and your suburban mom didn't have a gun.
This is true.
So we understand why the women changed.
I'm going to tell you what changed.
What changed?
I'm going to answer the question for the world. It changed. You very much touched on it earlier. When men began to replace women in their dispositions, and they became softer, snowflakey, little
Whiny.
sissies, whinies.
Beta males.
Beta males.
Yeah.
When those started to become the norm, I look at women nowadays, I'm like, oh my gosh, what you have to do. Mm-hmm. Because you got to be the man if you're going to be a woman in a
It's kind of
relationship.
sad. He
I know.
might be right.
That did change. This
You might be
shifting
right.
of traditional gender
So
roles.
basically,
Yeah.
liberals are responsible for the violence in America.
Well, I mean, I always say this. 20 years ago, the women wanted men to be more inquisitive and introspective and softer and doing this
Right.
thing. Well, the result
They went too far.
It
They went too
backfired
far.
on them.
It went too far.
It did.
now it's all about our feelings and less about.
if I can
things
add
we
a
should
little
do
more
as a
to
man.
it, I would say that it isn't assisted at all by the hormones in the food.
You said it is assisted.
It is.
I think so too.
It is.
because
I think so, too.
I
I
knew
think-
girls in when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
They were bumblebee bites. They didn't have nothing.
Right.
And now you look at girls. Well, what do they put in animals? Growth hormones.
Yeah.
And what do you eat? You eat that animal, and now all of a sudden people are developing earlier. Puberty's happening earlier.
There's
so
a
I think
physical
that
difference from like when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I went to high school the 80s.
Yeah.
yeah, so did I.
So I know what it looks like in terms of the difference in females. From
There was
when
no mistaking a
every
girl in high
had
school.
their
Yeah.
butts were like their backs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way
I
it
know.
was. You remember
That's why I tell guys, don't date anybody under 30 because you can't
You
tell if
never
they're
know.
14.
Well, there you go. How do you explain that phenomenon?
I know. It
It has to be the growth hormone.
Yeah.
So if somebody says to you, why should I get a gun? What's your answer?
Well,
because people must ask you that question. What do I need a gun for?
Well, people come to me every day to ask that question. It's not what you need a gun for. Is what are your personal security concerns? What are you worried about happening? What has happened in your life, in your past, that concerns you? And how is a gun possibly, because you think that I'm going to just tell everyone, yeah, get a gun. No, absolutely not. I've pulled many students aside and said, honey, this ain't for you.
And what is it about them that makes it not for them? They're angry?
Well, because there's a certain, I don't want to say machismo, right? It's not the right word. There's a confidence that has to come along with that. Because if you're presenting it in that, leave me alone, right? Yeah. What do predators do? What are we? We're predators, and what are we designed to do when we see weakness? Attack. So when someone is showing weakness, even though they have a gun, you walk right up to it. You don't have the heart to do it. Right. So this particular woman, I told her that because I asked her to point a gun at a guy with a balloon on his head, and as he ran at her, tried to hit the balloon off his head. And she could only, she was shooting right beside his head. Because she had it so ingrained, number one, the training scars of don't point a gun at somebody else. Right. And number two, she's afraid to hurt somebody. She had a CCW. I told her you need to leave that in your, that permit in your purse. You would have maybe better chance as a runner or a 911 dialer. A sprinter. Or maybe, do something else to get them placated. But fighting them, I don't think it's going to work in your favor.
Well, my answer, I always said I'm afraid of snakes. So I'm like, if I go where there's no snakes, I'm not going to get bit by a snake. Right. If I go where there's no guns, I'm not going to get shot by a gun. There's gun. We're running other than New York City, which is very few guns.
In your theory,
but because people have, I don't know if they're guns.
There's lots of Discovery Channel shows about snakes in the houses.
I agree.
My sister, it's funny we bring this up. Like I was saying, my sister just recently said she has to get a gun. And she's never talked about getting a gun ever before, but she's seeing what's going on. We live in Atlanta. She's seeing what's being played out in some of these cities. And I mean, it happens in Atlanta a lot. People, they, rob you, tie you up. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're a victim. So her attitude is like, instead of being a victim, and a lot of my friends are getting guns who are liberals, who are getting guns now, who live in the cities and see these things happening. And their attitude is, we have to at least be prepared for the police don't show up because they're defunding the police.
All right, well let me back up for a second. We're in Nevada. What is the law? Who can get a gun in Nevada?
Anyone that can pass a federal background check, hasn't got domestic violence.
Are there any unique Vegas or Clark County or Nevada laws?
Well, the biggest gun grab in United States history is something no one even realizes, and it's legalized marijuana. The biggest threat to the Second Amendment in this country is legalized marijuana.
Explain
why is that? Yeah.
Because it's a quid pro quo. If you want to enjoy marijuana, then you give up your gun rights.
That seems reasonable.
Reasonable.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. In Texas, you can't have your gun in a bar. That's a fair trade. You can't be drunk in a bar.
No.
Right?
You
can't bring your gun.
Give up your right to own one.
Right. Well,
that's not the difference of leaving your gun in the car.
In the car is different than giving up your right to own the gun.
What gun law do you think is reasonable?
Well, you have to understand that you cannot control people and live in a free society. Well, let me finish. Yeah. It's like automobiles, right? If you want to look at death, right? Lots of people die in automobile accidents from negligence, drunk driving, drug abuse, asleep at the wheel, lots of reasons, right? If we wanted to preserve life, we'd say, you know what? Too many people die every year in cars. No more cars.
There are laws.
Hold on a second. The problem is that people don't want to give up the privilege of driving enough to want to save lives. However, if you don't own a gun, it's no big deal for you to take them from the people that do.
Well, but we do have seatbelt laws. We have speed limits. We have don't drive drunk. There are laws that collectively, society, we all agree. Yes.
Yeah. What do they change?
Well, we certainly don't drive drunk as much as we used to. It's not even close.
But that's people's choices. The law is still just a piece of paper.
Okay, but if you violate that law, if you violate that law and you drive drunk, there are consequences. So you're saying take this, we can't take the Second Amendment out. The Second Amendment is very narrow. It didn't count for a lot of things. That's fine. I'm not going to argue whether the Second Amendment. I am going to ask though, what do you think is a reasonable law? Limit on age?
Okay,
you think it should be an age limit on gun?
You're going down the wrong road.
Well, I don't know if it's the wrong road because these are reasonable
I
questions.
tell you it's
but
the
these are
wrong
the
road.
questions that people are going to ask. Should a 9-year-old be able to have a gun?
That has nothing to do with the gun itself. The question isn't.
You
The
say that
question
about-
isn't about. Because I got 9-year-old kids that I know that can play the piano up and down the concert
You're
hall.
right.
Everyone has different abilities, different teaching
Right,
methods.
age
It's
shouldn't be
not
the
about
thing.
the gun.
Right.
Let's talk about the person for a second, because a gun is a tool, and like hammers don't build houses, guns don't shoot people. People use guns to shoot people.
Right.
What it comes down to, if you took every gun,
But it's hard to build a house without a hammer. It's hard to shoot a person without a gun.
grab a rock, right? You will find a way if you need shelter, and that's the same way with a gun.
killing someone. No, it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there was murder before guns around.
Right.
But what happens? Let's just
psychopath will find a way
live
to
in
kill
your
someone.
Yeah.
in your utopian society where there's no guns. They were never invented. Everything is hunky dory. Right? There's not one gun on the earth anymore. That doesn't magically change your disposition as a human being, as a good guy or as a piece of crap. You are who you are, and evil will find a way if it's in you.
Would you make this deal for 2 years? No guns. Nobody has any guns. If the crime and murder rate goes down, that stays. If it goes up, no gun laws at all. Everybody, anything you want.
Those studies have already been done.
But they
And-
haven't actually done it.
Hold on a second. I'm going to give credit to someone who I have been an avid critic of, and that is Barack Obama. Barack Obama asked that same question. And so he told the CDC, I want to know how many times a year somebody uses a gun and it deters crime. Right? You can look this up, CDC.gov website. Look up defensive gun uses. We talked about this on the other show. Every year they estimate between 2.5 and 3 million defensive gun uses in this country every year. Out of those 2.5 to 3 million defensive gun uses, only 6% of them ever wind up in violence. 94% prevented violence. So if you now take the fair comparison between, this is how many people die from gun violence every year, and they only give that statistic.
I'm more worried about the accidents.
And then you put, well, don't be. I promise you nothing's going to happen with this. It's open. It's been cleared. It's because I'm a competent individual who
Right.
who
but
lives
that
and
could be in a
breathes
house
this.
with an incompetent individual.
Okay.
You could bring home a man
What
or a
does
woman.
that has
and they're
to do
like,
with
"What
the
is this?"
person's
And it's a toy.
behavior, not the gun's
I
behavior.
agree that, but at some point you have to be like A plus B equals C. Sometimes an incompetent person around something can lead to C. So I'm asking, should there be any background check?
Of course.
Okay. What?
I don't want bad guys to have the same guns I do.
But sometimes bad guys turn into good guys.
What?
Sometimes
Very
somebody
rarely.
was a bad guy.
Ask any ex-girlfriend if their boyfriend's ever changed in the relationship.
So no violent criminal can get a gun permit?
No, I don't think so. You should lose that right because of something you do. Not I shouldn't lose my driving privilege because you drive like an idiot on the freeway.
Is it one strike then?
It depends on what it is. I mean, is killing somebody one strike?
No, killing strike is probably not going to get out. Say you got in a bar fight and there was an assault charge. Can you get a gun in your world?
No, you can't. Now.
I know that, but do you think that's okay?
Of course.
Okay.
If you mess up, then you should be held accountable for that. If you're a parent and you allow your kid to access your weapon and they shoot themselves, put that parent in prison. Right? We have rules. We follow those rules. If you break them, there's got to be consequences.
So can you bring a gun in a casino here?
Yes, you can.
As long as you have a permit.
Nope.
Oh, no permit.
Now, you can open carry anywhere on public places, right? Not federal government buildings. But the casino is going to ask you to leave as the property owner.
But they don't know that you have it on you.
If it's
There's no
concealed,
metal
no.
detector.
No. And I can tell you that I sneak this gun into every club I've ever been in town.
Could you walk down the street just
You
holding
sneak
the
that
gun
gun
up?
in.
You're going to probably get the police called on you.
Right,
Why
but
would
is that
you?
legal?
You're using an example of the absolute lowest form
No,
of life.
I'm
the
wondering-
idiot,
I'm
the village idiot at best.
Well, no, like
Why would you do that?
Because it's a real thing now. So in protests, some people in some states do brandish openly guns. I think that they're saying that we're defending ourselves. A lot of time that escalates a situation that wouldn't normally escalate because the gun is visible.
Okay, so you're also making then an argument that police shouldn't have guns.
I don't know about that.
Because the presence of a gun escalates the situation you just said.
Yeah, I don't, it does. You're probably right. Thoughts? Black man who might commit a crime? I mean, that's the way they look at it.
I was nervous when you get pulled, when you get opponent.
Have you gotten pulled over?
Yeah.
What's the first thought in your mind, depending on the neighborhood?
It could be the neighborhood, or depending on. It doesn't really bother me getting pulled over, to be quite honest with you. First off, I don't have a gun. Secondly, if I got pulled over, it's either
but they
for
don't
speeding,
know you don't have a gun,
right?
So their behavior might be different.
Well, their behavior is going to be, I think,
you set
based
the
off
tone.
how I had set the tone. So I always set the tone immediately, where I diffuse the situation before it can even escalate. So if a police officer comes to the, yes, sir, officer, no, sir, officer, what did I do wrong, officer? Thank you, officer. Boom. That's been my
take your ticket.
That's been
and
my
pay it
that's
and
been
get
my
on the road.
experience with the
It's
police.
the same with me.
That's been my experience.
You're the only one with any privilege at this table.
yeah, probably. But I don't have a gun, so maybe I'm.
You don't
Maybe
need
I'm.
one.
Well, when all the
Your
shit,
white skin will stop the bullets.
Not when all the shit goes down, but when. Okay, so somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm thinking about getting a gun. Is there a starter gun?
You should start with something that you can handle. You don't want to create a bigger
This is
problem.
heavier than I thought it would be.
Well,
and
it's
this
about
is
as heavy
empty.
as your fist, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It's got a little
Brett,
heft to
can
it.
I feel that?
Yeah.
Let me feel
Yeah, I'm trying to get somebody
guns around
else's
here.
prints
But
on
I
my
don't even.
gun. That's
I
how
don't.
do
I know.
this.
That's easy. My prints are now on that firearm.
So if I grab it with a napkin, then you need to worry about later on.
What? So somebody comes to gun and you're like, you go by height and weight first. That's the first question.
Actually, that's an interesting that you say that, because most gun people wouldn't know that has an impact. It needs to, number one, fit your hand shape, your hand size, and your grip strength. If you can't control it, it's going to go everywhere. And your weight affects your ability to manage that recoil, that energy that's coming back at you. Your grip strength affects your ability to control that. Because the most important part of defending yourself, honestly, really, as what I do as a gunfight coach and self-defense coach, is that I'm working to build their self-confidence, because that's the real shield that keeps them from even being considered. Because you realize that the predatory nature that exists in animals and primates and human beings is all to attack weaker things.
Right.
There's a cowardly nature to violence. And it's, you never attack something stronger than you, right?
Right.
You never attack something that's going to put up a fight.
And it also, people get nervous and they become bad shots. I'm always amazed at the statistics on how poor shot policemen are.
Yeah, 33%.
Right,
Which
and
is
I'm
crazy.
surprised at that, because it's
I
a situation.
trained some of them.
Right, I know, and it's they're not confident in their ability,
What is
or they're
that?
poorly trained. What is the reason why they're such
We
bad
talked
shots?
about, you have to listen to John's last podcast about parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system training.
I know, but we want people to listen to this right
Yeah.
now.
So tell us.
So
Okay,
why are police? Why is it's
why is there
33%?
a deficiency?
Yeah.
It's about that on the hit rate. When you are dealing with safety issues with firearms training, right, it can kill you, right? But I train with all non-lethal ammo so that I can make those mistakes and learn from them without dying. When you are talking right now, we're using our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the mode that we spend most of our lives in. It's how we learn at school. It's how we casually learn and absorb and interpret our environments. When you train that parasympathetic nervous system, it stays within that system. So when you shift over and have an adrenal response, you click into your sympathetic nervous system. If you haven't trained that system, then when you step into that box, it's empty. And so the training doesn't stick. That's what happens with law enforcement.
So they do train them, but it doesn't.
Yes, it's the training methodologies are not training the sympathetic nervous system. So every cop shop will tell you, if you're okay shot on the range, you'll be, pretty sorry in a gunfight. That's not. That's contradicting the nature of adrenaline and your sympathetic nervous system. If you, it's like because we learn to fight with guns, shooting against paper. It doesn't prepare you for that primal response of another human being on the end of that gun. And that triggers a whole different nervous system.
So military people are trained differently than police officers.
What happens is where people gain experience is they get in some stuff and then they gain real world adrenal experiences, and then they attribute that to the training. It's really a false positive.
Another question people ask is why don't they shoot him in the leg, or why don't they,
because that doesn't
even harder to
necessarily
do, right?
Stop the threat.
Right.
Your job is not to kill someone, not to shoot someone. It's to stop someone.
All right, we're gonna open up the junk drawer. We got some quick doses here. We're getting a little heavy politics for a second here as we Kamala Harris is now Biden's VP. We talked about this on a prior podcast. I was shocked that was the choice. I personally don't think it's a wise choice. I'll talk about that for a second. How do you feel about the choice?
I feel the same way. Like I told you the last time, I think he got her because he thinks she's going to bring in the black vote
and the woman vote.
The woman vote might work. The black vote's not going to work. Yeah. She was the top cop in California. She had a lot to do with some of the, incarcerations in the blacks. Yeah. That's not going to hold well. And her ethnicity. That ethnicity thing is going to play a prop. Watch it come out.
But that is a tough thing for the Republicans to attack, that she was tough on crime. Right. That's a weird thing, too. Thoughts on Kamala?
It's hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. That's what I would say. That's the hypocrisy. That's what the Republicans were attacking.
My thought on it was that she campaigned for almost a year and dropped out before the Iowa caucus because nobody liked her.
Nobody.
And I think the Republicans are going to position this as, we know Biden's not going to make it 4 years. It's Trump against Kamala.
Right.
And that's going to be like Trump versus Hillary. You didn't like her and you don't like her. I think they're overestimating how much women like her.
I agree with you
and
on
how
that
much
too.
and how much the black audience likes her.
Work.
I don't know, man. I think you speak for black people. I'm tired of doing it. I get in trouble every time I do it.
Speak for black people.
No, what's your thoughts? I'm curious.
Look, I think that it is an insult to the black community for people to suggest that they're going to naturally support another black person because they're black.
Or women. Yeah.
Here's a statement that'll get me in trouble. Black lives matter to everyone except blacks. Right? That's been a common criticism I've heard within the black community of friends that I know, is like, why don't we start treating each other better first?
I just had this conversation with John Orlando. Same conversation. So, yeah.
I'm not allowed to have that conversation.
No, you keep your white privilege over there.
You have white privilege.
All right, second piece of news that came out a couple days. Russian vaccine for coronavirus. They're first to the table with the vaccine that they're giving people.
No, they weren't. Afghan was.
Are you taking it?
No.
Vaccine?
Do you
personally?
You wouldn't take any of them, but are you downgrading it because it's Russian? Because Russian won the space race, or a big part of it. They built a big army. They do have doctors. Are we making a mistake just quickly dismissing it because it was Russian?
I heard that they didn't even finish the trials. So, I
don't care if they finished it and it's 10 years down the road. If you give me a needle, I'll give you lead.
All right, I agree with that too.
I think you will never put a vaccine.
I think we are dismissing their scientific capability a little too quick, because I don't want their vaccine, but I don't want a lot of these rushed vaccines. But I think it's because, it's Russian, it must be bullshit. We forget about what they did, that we're mooching off their space station and militarily, and they do have, they created Ivan Drago, back in the day. And the Olympians, they do have medical capabilities that I think we were too quick to just be like, Russian, it's bogus, I don't know.
What about your immune system?
Oh, I agree with that. That's a different discussion. I'm not pro-vaccine on the COVID thing. I'm just saying, like, the fact that people have been dying for this vaccine, and rather that piece of news,
they'll be dying from it.
Right. Again, different discussion. Instead of people be like, oh, yay, they immediately dismissed it because it was Russia.
Because it's Russia.
And I think that we then, if you're going to be very into the vaccine thing,
the pro-vacciners,
I think that your anti-Russia doesn't really make sense.
That's racism.
That's Russism. I think so.
All right. What if it came from China?
We're going to go a little bit off the reservation here. This part of the country is UFO country. Or a lot of people believe that. So 1 to 10, meaning 1 is, it's a big universe, there could be something, and 10 is they walk among us now. Where do you stand?
Have you ever been to Walmart? That's not a question.
Where do you stand, and is that why we have the guns? Because so 1 is I really don't know, and 10 is they're in Caesar's Palace right now. Where are you on the UFO scale?
I would like to believe they're right here among us, but I haven't seen any proof. But I do believe, my heart of hearts, we have a huge universe.
Yeah.
It's endless. So I do believe that there are
People
other
love
life
that.
forms.
People
there
love
are definitely
that
other
shot.
life forms. I believe
so you're
that.
about a 2.
Yeah. Well, what, 1 to 10?
1
would
means
be...
there's probably something out there, so you're just to the right of that, a little stronger than that. So you're not like they're working the valet at
Probably
Bally's.
a lot strong. I would give 1 to 10. I would give it. I'm probably a 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
7 or 8. Yeah.
Okay.
7 or 8.
Where are you on the UFO alien life?
Well, I
thing?
would say if the question is there something else out there, is answered by the fact that we are that something else out there. So if we are a mathematical certainty that exists in time and space,
right.
and all math repeats itself over time, then there has to be another format just like ours somewhere, because there's no hard wall to the universe, so it has to exist somewhere else.
Do you have
mathematically?
Do you have a gun, sir? I'm not even sure I'm here. You know, you can answer like that. So So you're about a 5?
No, if you
7
believe in
or 8.
God, you kind of have to. So
I agree. We agree with a lot. We believe in a lot more with a lot less. I'll give you that. Let's do our bold predictions here, because we do that sometimes. Give me a bold prediction. It could be 1 month down the road, 10 years down the road. That's something in the future that people will be like, oh yeah, I wonder if that's going to happen. Because you're preparing for some sort of civil war.
There'll be a terrorist attack before the election.
Before the election. A domestic terrorist attack?
That's a prediction, not a plan, folks.
Right.
All you NSA people
Put that
like,
gun away. No, you said something.
Hey, don't get our podcast
No,
flag.
so
Seriously.
So you think a domestic?
I don't need the heat.
Domestic terrorist or a foreign?
oh no, it has to be foreign.
Foreign. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope not, but yeah.
Well, they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink.
I agree. Who do you think that benefits? Or it depends on what it is, I suppose.
It benefits the people that are behind this whole pandemic.
I know that, but generally somebody's doing that to affect an outcome, and generally that helps the incumbent.
Where's the no, not in this case, because this is all being used to sabotage Trump and to try and make good on promises to countries that have been supporting corrupt infrastructures that will get things back to normal as soon as we get rid of the orange man.
Okay,
Good. That's a good point.
good one. Bold prediction.
I think there's going to be a civil war. Remember I said this last time? But this time I'm changing it. Instead of it being a civil war between the left and maybe the right, I'm looking at a civil war in the left now. I'm watching
insurrection.
So there's a civil war. You have the
split into
extreme
two ways.
left. You have the extreme left now, the commies, coming against the mainstream left, the
moderates,
institutional left. And I'm seeing it play out all over the place, where they're battling each other in these cities for supremacy. And I think that's going to play out before anything else.
Mine is Ruth Bader Ginsburg last 10 more years. I think she's indestructible. I think there's something there that she's just
Keith Richards
she's just
married.
fucking with us, and
the Queen of England. Well,
yeah, I think she's not going anywhere. The people that are counting on her going anywhere, I think she's going to keep beating it, and she's going to be a point of frustration for a lot of people rooting for that position.
To come, right?
Both sides of it. Both sides will be like because say Biden wins. They'll want to have that spot to replace just to get it done before she dies. And, of course, the Republicans want her out to get that spot before. I think she's going to...
You think she's going to outlast the whole thing?
I think she's going to...
her up till after the election.
I think she's going to kick that can down the road.
Amazing, because I keep thinking every week I think she's done.
I think she's got a lot of spunk.
Life support.
I'll give her that.
Or adrenochrome.
Here's something that we ask every guest. Fill in the blank. I was wrong about this. It could be an issue, candidate, vote, girlfriend, whatever.
I was wrong about the bright side of Obama being president.
What did you think was the bright side, and what were you wrong about?
As a Republican, to admit this, after the elections, I remember watching and going, dang it. All right, but then the first thought I had was, you know what? Maybe it's the time for the black community to do some healing and to finally get over years of issues, right? This is their moment. They've risen to the highest level of office in the world. Excuse me. This is good for them. It's their moment, right?
Okay.
And then he disappointed me because he didn't do anything for the black community. He didn't do anything.
Zero.
He had after Ferguson, he distanced himself a little bit from the true muck of it.
Yeah.
He did.
Because he's not a black American. He doesn't.
Is he not black or is he not American?
No. There's a difference between black Americans and blacks from Africa or other places. They're just not the same
Like
culturally.
Kamala. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what she is, you know.
She's from you have another one, something you were wrong about.
Yeah. I used to think that LeBron James could supplant Michael Jordan as the greatest. I was completely wrong. Completely wrong.
I
on a multitude of levels on that
I
one.
thought the same thing. I'm a little more on. Here's my argument on that, and they barely touched on it on the Last Dance. The Bulls almost won it all without Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You take LeBron off of any of those teams he's left, all of them, they're terrible.
Right.
So I'm a little bit more like, you put LeBron on those Bulls teams.
I don't know about that. I still don't know about that. LeBron has had so much talent around him, and he still keeps losing. That's my point. You put Michael on some of those teams that you're talking about. Put Michael on any of those teams. Oh, my God. They're going all the way.
Well, we did put Michael on some of those teams, but before he got Scotty, he didn't win anything.
Well, I think before Scotty, he had to learn a lot about how to win.
He was in the league 7 years.
Yeah.
Yep. He got Scotty, and people made fun of LeBron. He had to go get D Wade and
everybody, not just D Wade.
But that's okay. I was wrong about guns. Not that I'm pro or con or anything. I really underestimated how many people had them, liked them, want them, and it was a big part of their world. I just lived in my L.A., New York bubble where they're not a part of day to day, and when you go to sort of the every other place, it's very common. It's very culture. There's a lot of. They are safe.
Yeah.
I go to Bass Pro Shop and they have all kinds of things that I'm like, what the hell is that for? People like stuff that I don't like. So I was wrong about gun culture. It's not just it's not just a criminal thing. I just didn't know.
Brian, after I went back to work after the COVID thing, I talked to my manager at work, a liberal. Everyone I work with in the industry I'm in, they're all liberal. They all have guns, multiple guns, and recently got more guns.
Have you
more guns?
Have you owned a gun?
No, not yet. I'm getting. We're going to talk and
I'll
get
see
with
you
him.
after class.
We're going to talk to the. But I'm the most peaceful person on the planet. But it might be that time.
Here's a layman's question:
Might be that time.
How much is a gun?
Well, you could get a gun pretty cheap, but you probably don't
cheap?
want it.
If
you're paying a couple $100 for a gun, you probably shouldn't get that.
That's
gun.
what I've been told.
So a couple hundred. So how much is this is a good gun?
You need to spend anywhere from $500 to $700 on a gun.
So people
On
have
a good handgun.
So,
Okay, I
so
was
some
told
people
a
have,
couple $100.
And how much is a
Piece of crap.
A bullet? Is that what it's called? How much is a bullet?
A box of bullets run you about $15, maybe 20,
So it's like golf
$20
balls.
for defense ammo.
It's like golf balls.
I don't know. I don't play golf.
Is a box of bullets the same as a box of golf
I'm not tall
balls?
enough for this
No?
conversation.
Do we know this? It's about the same. Are you limited on how many bullets you can have legally?
No, you cannot. You're not. No.
You can just have a garage full of ammo?
You should have a garage full of ammo.
You should. How much
Absolutely.
ammo should a
10,000
man have?
rounds per caliber of weapon you own.
Explain that.
Well, if you own a 9mm handgun or several 9mm, you should have at least 10,000 rounds of ammo. If you have an AR-15, you should have 10,000 rounds of 5.56.
10,000 rounds.
What are you
10,000
doing with 10,000 rounds?
Well, first of all, you need them for several things. Number one, you need to learn how to use the damn gun.
So practice.
Training,
Training.
right? Training is going to be required more than combat.
So you're $1 a training round.
Well, that is
More.
at the gunfights we charge that for the non-lethal, but no, it's not quite that much.
Okay.
Maybe more like 20.
So you're fully trained, and then you have your 10,000 rounds.
Then you have some for self-defense. Then you have another amount to help your neighbor who didn't stock up on ammo, but all of a sudden we need to mass up.
How long will 10,000 rounds last?
Not very long, dude.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Not on a semi-automatic. Like with that,
Look at it. How
you
long,
could never
how
shoot
long does
10,000
10
rounds
grand
on that.
last in your bank account?
Not long.
Okay, then why are we arguing?
Well, I know, but you can spend that 10 grand at a time.
Yeah, you could do that too with certain guns.
I know. I don't know what.
Because you don't know, right?
So it's
not like running your car on empty all the time. You know, that's just stupid.
Do you know anybody who's gone through 10,000 rounds and had to reload?
Myself, yeah.
Not just practicing or showing people how to.
Well, that's the majority of where your ammo needs to go.
Has anybody used them in 10,000 rounds in self-defense since the Civil War in this country?
No, not
there's Gatling gun?
Yeah, that would count, but it's not about that.
The guy in Idaho.
Let's look at it as food. Right?
Yeah.
You want it just for yourself?
Yeah.
You selfish bastard.
Yeah.
Right? Or do you want to help your neighbor, your family,
I want
your
it just for
friends?
me.
Okay, it's not just for you.
So that 10,000 rounds is for the neighborhood. It's for everybody.
So if I went to my neighbors,
you treat it like you store food.
So I went to neighbors and I said, "Listen, I got a lot of guns, I got a lot of ammos, but it's for you guys." That's a well-received conversation. They're
if you
happy.
help your neighbors survive, absolutely. I guarantee.
Don't worry about my guns.
You'll get more food from ammo than you would from the money and what it's not valued at anymore. Absolutely, money, ammunition would be used to trade better than gold.
When it all goes
because
down.
gold is useless.
Gold is useless now too?
You can't save your life with a piece of gold.
No, I know girls with like golden bullets.
I got one other question to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isaiah Washington, the actor, he was on social media like a week or two back doing like, I don't know what it was, like some kind of acting. They were acting like he was being attacked, and then he was going through the motions of what he would do under that. What is that? I don't know what that type of training is. So it was like, you know what I mean? There was an attacker. He had a coach, and then he had to pull and draw. But you're shooting the person, but you're not really shooting the person. But I guess it counts every time.
Yeah.
That's
what I do.
Oh, did you so is that like
we teach MMA and gunfighting as a martial art, because it's not just going to involve a gun. Mm-hmm. If you're involved in an altercation at some level, there's some physicality involved in it, mostly physicality involved in that. But if you're going to go for your gun, I'm going to go for your right hand, try to stop you.
Are we bringing
then
back the bayonet?
Oh.
Are silencers legal again? Okay, I don't know where you're shopping. It's tough at the mall. Are silencers legal, or is that just in the movies?
Silencers require special licensing, but they can be obtained. And the
whole movie, like, quiet.
It's actually not like that. It suppresses but doesn't silence. You'll still hear it. It's just not going to cause as much damage.
But the movie just goes.
How much is a gun like that? I don't want it.
This one will run you about $1,100.
$1,100 for that? How much for the bullets? Same? $15?
$15, $20.
People are spending a lot of money on guns.
Can't even find ammo in town right now.
What? Really?
Oh no.
And
the country is dry.
Is that the first time that's happened on your watch?
Nope. Happened under Obama too.
Really? It's the first time, I know in Los Angeles, it's the first time, there's a gun store in, I think it's Culver City. It's the first time I've ever seen a line, and this was at a social distance line before that, at a gun store in L.A., which I didn't even know that there was, I didn't pay attention.
We have those every weekend, you know.
Yeah, I know, but not in Los Angeles, but there was a line. So there's no ammo.
No.
See, I was going to buy
You can find 22 ammo. I mean, you can find some, but you're not going to be out buy 2,000 rounds like we usually do.
Have you ever accidentally shot yourself?
Not myself. I accidentally shot my refrigerator.
Okay. How did... see, that's a household accident. How did that happen accidentally?
I was on the phone. My friend was like, dude, check out my new 380. And I was like, still talking on the phone. I was like, let me see that, and I... I locked it
this
back.
This scares Brian.
See, that wouldn't happen.
This is where it's okay.
Scares Brian.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm going to tell you, because I know the first rule, right? Don't point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. And I hated that freaking refrigerator, right? But I checked it, but I was distracted. I made a mistake, clearly, right? It was an NDA, or a negligent discharge, right? I checked it, and I looked, I felt, and then I closed like this. And I put one in.
You put it.
And then I sighted at the fridge. I had a picture of my wife, just because it was the center of the fridge.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel the trigger pull. Boom! And I shot through the picture of my wife, shot through all the food, and it stopped inside the vegetable
How old were you
bin.
the first time you shot a gun?
Oh.
Not a BB gun, like a real gun.
Boy Scouts, like Cub Scouts.
Really? What town is this in?
San Diego.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up Mormon, so
Mormons can have guns and not a Diet Coke, huh?
Mormons are some of the most patriotic and well-prepared people that you will find in this country. They are ready.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. Thank you. This was educational.
This was really good.
This was
A
fun.
lot shorter than the last one.
I know. I don't know what last one you did, but they tend to drone on. Like, share, subscribe. As always, please review this. Shoot us your feedback. What's the email, Jono? Is there an email if people want to give us feedback? Have we set that up yet? PoliticalJunkies at Gmail. And join us for another fix next time on Political Junkies.